which troop type got buffed the most in the new crystal tech? And also who got buffed? Is it F2P players or spenders? And also over the time there have been a couple of hidden nerfs and buffs that Lilith did not really tell us. So let's talk about that. Okay, so the other day during my live streams, we discussed about hidden nerfs and buffs and made a few lists. And this topic is still ongoing in my Discord channel, and a couple of new points still coming out every now and then. If you want to join the discussion, make sure to join my Discord channel. The link will be in the description below. But right now, let us start from the most debated topic right away, which is who got buffed with the new crystal tech. Okay, is it F2P or spenders? And my answer to that is F2P and low spenders got buffed. They are benefiting the most from this new crystal tech. I will explain and prove you why is that a case, okay? So I did some testing. Just to wrap up this testing, F2P and small spenders with the new crystal tech, they are simply doing more damage and they are surviving much longer on the open field. Even if facing against max tech players which have the extra 15% defense and 15% HP, F2P and small spenders are still doing more damage and still surviving much longer, okay? And it's basically because now F2P players are just simply having more troop capacity. So if you take a look into the new crystal tech, the Call to Arms 1 and Call to Arms 2, both of them are quite early. Now, we still do not know what would be the prerequisites of the techs, but if we include the upgrading the crystal mine and also the research center, it could be like maybe around like 20 million crystals or a little bit above 20 million crystals to max out the Call to Arms 2. You may not be able to max them out completely during the Pass 4. It's also gonna depending on how much, your chain farming bars, how did you perform in your previous KVK and how many, reserve crystals you have, right? The case is gonna be different for everybody, but the idea is that, maxing out the troop capacity is quite easy with the new tech. Okay, and that is going to be quite important for us to prove our point. Now let's go back to the RK simulator. So here I am just simulating very simple case of scenario, okay? And I want to have my environment very controlled. Again, in real case, spenders will have much better gear, right, as a F2P player. And on the left side, we have F2P player, and on the right side, we have the whale. Now, F2P players previously most likely we're running 310,000 troops most of the time, right? Maybe in Kingsland you might have a few points put into the Call to Arms. And on the other hand, spenders will have 410k troops or even more, depending on the equipment awaken levels, right? And here I just want to simply compare what happens if I go from 310k troops to 410k troops. The additional 100k troop capacity versus the extra 15% defense and 15% HP. It's very controlled environment, right? Again, I'm only comparing the extra 100k troop capacity versus someone who has max tech, max defense and max HP. And the damage factor of 200, this is your basic attack damage, right? And every, skill damage, smite damage, every other damage calculates from this section, right? So this is going to be your base damage. With the alt tech, 310k troop versus 410k troops, you are doing 478 basic attack damage. So now you have 410,000 troops and already your damage is increased by like 100, but we need to add the extra 15% defense and 15% HP. But even if we add the extra defense and HP, our damage is still 492, which means from 478 to 492, you have almost like 3% increased damage as an F2P player. Even if the target who has maxed out crystal tech, you are gonna be doing slightly more damage thanks to your increased troop capacity. Okay, so F2P players, small spenders, I think this is a good news, right? I mean, this makes sense because if we take a look into the rally garrison situation where you are fighting with the 2 million troop capacity, right? There we are seeing crazy numbers just because of the increased troop capacity. So with the new crystal tech, because you have more troop capacity available, easy to reach, you are gonna be doing slightly more damage as an F2P and small spender. And also, you are going to survive on open field longer. Max Tech player, right? He is going to be gaining 12.5% attack as well, right? And he is going to be doing 608 damage, okay, to someone who is not Max Tech. But if we revert back to the old tech and just delete the defense and HP and add 42% attack, now your damage is increased by 80. So this means that in the old tech, as we all know, right, if someone who has max tech and running 7 marches and they all focus you, you basically gets one-shotted as an F2P and small spender, right? Just because you are gaining tremendous amount of attack stat and also, you know, 40% past glory damage boost, right? The KVK boost, you can get one shot. But in the new crystal tech, because instead of gaining the attack stat, gaining more defense and HP, right? Of course, someone who is maxing out the crystal tech, they are gonna be surviving on the open field much longer and they are gonna be trading better, of course. Even if you do not have the extra defense and HP as an F2P player, you are still going to be surviving longer. Just because number one, you have more troops, and number two, max tech player are not really doing as much damage as before. So this proves that this increased troop capacity and also marches are becoming more tanky instead of doing more damage. This is actually benefiting F2P and small spenders. All right, so now let us go to the second point, which is which troop type benefited the most. The addition of extra defense and HP is affecting troop types a little bit differently. And I already did the math during the live stream. And here I'm just gonna show you the end number, okay? So the most buffed march or troop type is siege. Now this can be explained quite easily, okay? So if you take a look into the siege equipment is actually oversaturated on attack stats. 3 equipment is offering attack, 2 is defense, and only 1 is HP, right? Which is why the balance of the equipment in terms of siege was heavily focused on the attack stats. The change of this new crystal tech having very positive impact on the stat balance in terms of siege. The trade effectiveness of siege is increased by 4.6%, almost like 5%. The other troop type is like around like 2.5% to 3%. Previously, let's say you were getting 500% reports, right? Now with the new crystal tech, you are going to be getting like around 525% reports. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to be gaining more kill points because, as we know, damage got nerfed in the new crystal tech and new KK. So you are gonna be gaining less kill points, but it's just gonna be a little bit more efficient. Okay, this is what this number means. But in reality, the report percentage is not gonna change that much because every march has benefited a little bit, right? That means that infantry, archers, and cavalry most likely are gonna be pulling out a similar percentage efficiency report, most likely. And only siege marches are gonna like pull out slightly better report, right? Maybe from 500% to 510 or 515%. Just a slight increase. Now let's go into the third section of this video, which is the all hidden nerfs and buffs. So first of all, a troop specialization got buffed. Meaning troop type, especially for F2P and small spenders, are gonna be beneficial in the new crystal tech, in the new KKs. But we have to remember that like meaning only one troop type is not gonna be that efficient because it's really hard to make like 5 open field marches with only one troop type, right? It's gonna be really hard. But if you main like 2 troop type, I think that can work. So the obvious reason for this is the crystal tech changes, right? But there's also another hidden reason behind this, is that we are seeing damage variety. So previously we only had like skill damage, and that's about it, right? Every commander was doing skill damage, but nowadays we have smite damage, cavalries are going for combo damage. So there are many damage types that are not really like having synergy with each other. For example, before all this smite damage and combo damage, where everybody had skill damage, the target takes 35% more skill damage. So when we were running only one damage type, which is skill damage, the synergy was there, right? No matter what type of troop type you run, there was still synergy. But because of this new damage types, that synergy is kind of getting lost, right? It's getting nerfed. There's another example, is that, for example, in pincer formation, we have Toppler. When Toppler procs, the target is gonna take increased smite damage for the next 3 seconds. So this is only gonna be helping commanders that are doing smite damage, which is infantry. That means, you know, this damage variety and also the crystal tech encouraging for especially the FTP and small spender players to go for troop specialization, which is maybe 1 or 2 troop type. Does this mean this is a nerf for all troop type players? Not necessarily for spenders, because spenders can, you know, make the top 1 or 2 march of every troop type, and that is going to be the peak performance open field march combination, right? This change doesn't really affect the spenders, but only for FTP small spenders, troop specialization is getting buffed. Now let's go to the second one. Is siege marches got buffed due to the new crystal tech. This is we just talked about and explained here. There's one nerf, is that the Twilight Falls, the city skin, the legendary city skin, is getting kind of nerfed. This is, I think we all know this. Again, because of the many damage types, you know, this skin used to be the best city skin, like especially for FTP and small spenders, right? You could buy this from the KK shop, but now, you know, there's more smite damage and combo damage commanders, so this skin is kind of getting nerfed. Let's go to the second buff, is that attack stat got buffed. I mean, we all saw this, right? We are getting less attack from the new crystal tech, so if you put like attack stat city skin, it's gonna be a little bit more impactful. But HP is still gonna be the #1 priority for most of the marches, and then defense is the second, and attack is still gonna be the third. We already done the math, and this is still the case. There's only like few special cases for cavalry that defense might be more important than HP for certain pairings, but HP being important and attack being the least important is still being the case. Now, Persian Dream got tiny nerf because of the additional defense stat. This Persian Dream, you can also buy it from the KK shop. This is not really used on open field that much, right? You are gaining 3% troop defense, and because you are already getting additional 15% defense from the crystal tech, effectiveness of this 3% defense is just lowering. Again, this skin is not really used on open field. It's mostly used when you are healing your troops, right? All right, let's go on to the next one. So any type of damage bonuses got buffed because there's no longer like improved morale. So there's no longer damage bonus in the new crystal tech, but instead we are getting damage reduction, right? 10% damage reduction. And for example, Ring got buffed slightly, and our good friend Davor made a calculation, and the effectiveness of Ring, for example, on Hoa Arthur increased by 8.5%. Now, this doesn't mean that the Ring is just gonna straight up doing more damage, right? It's not the case, okay? But in the new crystal tech, there's no longer diminishing return, which is why the effectiveness got increased slightly. Now, on the other hand, the damage reduction got nerfed because of the new crystal tech damage reduction. In the new crystal tech, you are gaining the damage reduction because of the diminishing return effect. Commanders who have like a skill damage reduction or normal damage reduction, they are having a little bit of diminishing return. So this is kind of like a micro nerf, right? This is micro buff, and this is micro nerf, okay? Another buff is that glass cannon commander builds and pairs got buffed slightly because you are getting much more tanky stats from the new crystal tech. Again, it's not too much, but this is kind of like micro buff. For example, the Baichi, yes, we all know Baichi is a little bit squishy, but because of the new crystal tech, it's gonna be fine, I think. Okay. Now, Ottoman Civilization got nerfed. This is just like the Twilight Falls. You know, we are gaining skill damage, right? And again, because of now there's many different damage types, this is not applying to most of the marches. The last point in the buff is kind of interesting, okay? So I think that rally and garrison specialists are getting buffed. And also F2P small spender open field is also getting buffed indirectly. Okay, I'm going to explain this. What is going to happen is that kingdoms are going to start having rally garrison specialists. Like, for example, one player is infantry, rally, and garrison specialist. There's another player dedicated, okay, this is dedicated to like archer, rally, garrison. And then another player is going to be like cavalry, dedicated, rally, garrison. This is just because of the new crystal tech. In the new crystal tech, you can main one troop type and you can pretty much max the crystal tech all the way to the last one. So the strategy here is going to be, in the cave case, I think that before pass 4, right? Before pass 4, rally and garrison leaders are gonna max out only one troop type for max efficiency in terms of rally and garrison, right? Previously, no matter how much you spend on the crystal tech, pass 4 you were not really be able to like max the crystal tech. Again, we do not know really the prerequisites of this, but that could be the case, right? Which is why in pass 4 situation, the rally and garrisons are going to be really strong and kingdoms are gonna have dedicated troop type rally garrison specialists that are focusing on the crystal techs for pass 4, which is why that is also indirect buff for F2P and small spenders. Okay, that means that, you know, those garrison and rally leaders, the other troop types are basically gonna be running like 0 crystal tech. That gives F2P small spenders a chance to fight them equal grounds on open field, right? So that is the idea behind this buff. On the other side, I also included the rally garrison specialist getting nerfed just because, you know, in pass 4 you need to invest into one troop type and you need to be leaving other troop types for pass 4. That means you're going to be a little bit weak on open field, but then again, this is going to be very micro nerf because when the time of pass 7, your crystal tech is probably gonna be almost maxed out, right? Now, there's one last nerf is that HP and defense debuffs lost a little bit slight value. This point was added recently because someone asked if the effectiveness of Scipio is reducing target's HP by 30%, and he was wondering if 30% HP debuff lost its value, and it did. According to my calculation, the 30% HP debuff lost like around like 2% value. HP and defense debuff both are losing a slight value because of the new crystal tech. Does this mean this is like completely inefficient? No, you can still run the HP and defense debuff commanders or accessories, right? It's just I wanted to point out that their value got slightly nerfed. Okay, this is what Lilith did not tell us with these changes. Alright, with that our video ends here. Let me know if we have missed any hidden buffs and nerfs that we don't have in the list here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great day and peace.